Hi guys, this is Vineet, and in today's video we will discuss about concepts on file groups in SQL Server. So let's move ahead. There are some points I would like you guys to remember. Please watch this video till the end to gain better clarity of the concepts, and if possible for you, please watch this video twice and perform any exercises in your test environment and not in the production environment. And we would like to know your thoughts regarding our video, so please share your comments. So in today's video I will be discussing some concepts. So in case you need the PDF copy of those concepts, then what I would like you guys to do is to subscribe to my channel. Then after subscribing to my channel, take a proof of subscription. Maybe you can take a screenshot as an example I have shown below, which indicates the name of the video including my channel name and the subscribe button showing subscribed, and send that screenshot to me on the email vermavane@gmail.com. It's mentioned over here. So once I receive your email, I will send you the copy of the PDF copy of the notes. Now let's get back to the topic, which is concepts about file groups in SQL Server, and let's go to notes quickly. So today we will be discussing the concepts about file groups. A file group is basically a group of files. That is the basic definition. So there's a concept of primary file groups and secondary file groups in SQL Server. So let's talk about what primary file group is. So the primary file group within SQL Server contains the primary data file and any other secondary files that are not put into any other file groups. So the statement is indicating what does the primary file group contains. So it contains the primary data file, which is the MDF file in SQL Server, and in addition to MDF file, it can contain any other secondary data files, which are NDF files, .ndf files that are, and these files, secondary data files, should not be part of any other file groups. Only those files can be put in the primary file group. Alright, in addition to primary file group, this file group, we can create any additional user-defined file groups as well. So these can be created, and these can be used to group the data files together for the administrative and data allocation purpose, or the placement purpose as well. So we can create any additional file groups, which are called user-defined file groups, and put any of the data files into those file groups for any administrative, data allocation and placement purpose. Now here I am giving you an example. Suppose we have three files, data1.ndf, data2.ndf and data3.ndf. So these are secondary data files as indicated by extension ndf, and these files can be created on 3 drives. So we can put each file on a separate drive, 3 drives, and assign these 3 files to file group 1. Now whenever we create a table on that particular file group 1, what happens? So a table is created on file group 1. Let's say this is an example. Now if you perform any queries against that table, if you perform any queries for data from that particular table, now those queries will get spread into or spread across 3 disks, because these 3 files are placed on 3 separate disks, and we have created a table on the file group which contains these 3 files. So whenever a query is made for data from that table, the query gets spread across those 3 disks, and this will improve the performance, as there will be a parallel IO, and data will be coming from 3 disks instead of just a single disk. And same performance can also be achieved using single file created on a read stripe set. So other alternative is to use a RAID stripe set, which is basically a combination of several disks acting as a single disk. That can also be used. The same set of feature can be achieved by using a file groups in SQL Server, where we can spread file across different disks. And if we are using the file groups, there is no need to use the RAID. Otherwise, RAID can be used to achieve the same purpose. Now let's talk about what are the various type of file groups that are available in SQL Server. So far we have talked about the primary file groups and the secondary file groups, or the user-defined file groups. So first one is the primary file group, and this is basically the file group that contains the primary data file, and basically all the system tables are part of this primary file group. So this is the definition of primary file group. It contains the primary data files, and all the system tables are part of primary file group. And in addition to that, there are user-defined file groups, which are basically any file groups that are created by user when the user first creates or later modifies the database. Now in addition to that, there are certain other file groups as well, which is basic combination of memory optimized data and the file streams. So these are basically memory optimized file groups, and a memory optimized file group is based on file stream file groups. We will talk about them in our later videos. A separate video will be dedicated to these two special kind of file groups. File group is basically one, the memory optimized file groups. These file groups basically uses file streams. So we will discuss it later in our upcoming videos. So stay tuned, and please subscribe to my channel immediately. Click on the subscribe button below this video, click on the bell icon, select bell notifications to get any updates regarding any of my future videos. Now let's discuss in detail a little bit about the primary default file group, which is this. So whenever we create an object in SQL Server, and when we do not mention any specific file group at that time while creating the object, then where are those objects being created? Those objects are being created or assigned to the primary file group. This happens if we do not specify any file groups, and the primary file group is the default file group for the database. So whenever we create object, it gets created on the default file group if we do not mention specifically about the file group we want to create that object on. Now the primary file group is the default file group unless we change this setting, unless it is changed by using the alter database statement. So we can use the alter database statement to change the default file group for the database, and once the default file group is changed, so any of the objects that will be created without mentioning about the file group will be created on the default file group, whatever the default file group may be. Now let's talk about the allocation of system objects and tables. These remains with the primary file group. They do not get created on the secondary file group. So all the system objects or tables are maintained within the primary file group, and not the new default file group. Even if we make some other file group a new default file group, these objects, the system objects and the system tables, will get created on the primary file group. Now let me take you through a demo. What we will do in this demo is we will create a database on an instance of a SQL Server. First step will be this, and this database will have a primary data file, a user defined file group as well, and a log file. Now the primary data file will belong to the primary file group, and the user defined file group will contain two secondary data files. We will do this, and we will use alter database statement as well to make this user defined file group the default file group, and then we will create a table specifying the user defined file groups. So let me quickly take you to SQL Server and perform this operation. So far we have some databases: database, dbmove, test copy, sample db, and worldwide importers. We will create a new database. So let's do this through tsql. Give me a moment, guys. So let's click on new query button. You may do that along with me. Let me increase the size of the text in the window. So let me see if I can increase it. Fonts and colors. So let's talk about text editor. Let's increase the size to 16 maybe. Let's see. So yeah, the size is increased, so I think that would be good. So we are inside the master database right now, and we will create a DB with the name mydb. You may write these statements along with me if you are on the test environment. So I'm creating a mydb as the database, and what I'm doing is I'm creating in the primary file group. I'm specifying that as well. So here I'm specifying the database, and I'm specifying the files of the database, which file group they will be created on. So I'm specifying they will be created on the primary file group by indicating the word primary here. So now I will specify the name of the database. The name of my database will be mydb primary. This is not the name of the database, but name of the file inside the database. I'm creating a file. The logical name of the file will be mydb primary file, and then we need to specify the physical file name. So let's see where I'm gonna create that file. So let me see where I can create that file. So let's go to C, program files, not inside Microsoft SQL Server 19, because we have two instances on this machine. Right now I'm connected to the default instance, which is SQL Server 2022. So let me go inside that folder, and I will create the data file inside this location. So let's copy this location out and put that inside single quotes. I need to specify the name of the file name under data. So the name of the file name for my file would be mydb underscore prm.mdf. so this is the extension for the primary data file. You may choose any other file names or the logical file names for your database, but yeah, if you want to just copy me, you can use the same file names. So far we have specified the logical file name and the physical file name, and next step would be to specify the size. We are specifying the size as 4 MB, and we are also specifying the max size this file can be expanded to is as 10 MB, and then we are specifying the file growth parameter as it should grow by 1 MB. I think that's it. So this first file will be created on the primary file group. Now in the same statement, what I am doing is I am creating an additional file group. So I need to use the file group statement. So this will be my, let's give a name to this file group. So this will be file group 1. So I'm using mydb underscore fg1 as my user defined file group name here. Now let's give the name to this file. So name will be mydb underscore file group 1 underscore data file 1 This is the logical name of the file. Let's give the physical file name. So this will be a secondary data file. So okay, let's move on. So this will be my physical logical file name, my dbfg1 that one. You may use your own file name. So let's put the physical file name for this file. So let me copy the location from top and just copying the location of the file name. We are specifying the file name or the physical file name here as mydb underscore fg1 underscore 1 dot ndf, as this is the secondary data file. Okay, and we need to put the comma after the file name as well. So let me put that here. Okay, let's put enter after this. Next, what we will do, we will specify the size here for this file. I'm specifying the size here as 1 MB, the initial size, and I'm specifying the max size as 10 MB, let's say, and let's specify the file growth as now file growth I'm specifying as 1 MB. It should increase by 5 MB, 1 MB, sorry. And okay, so comma is not required over here, but comma is required over here. Let's create a new file group. So we are not creating a new file group here, but a new file. So we just need to start and close the bracket. Let's put the other file details over here. Let's copy the same stuff and put it here. We will change some details. Okay, let's put comma in here. There were some commas that were missing. I put those commas. So let's change the detail of the new file we are creating under this file group. So let's mark it as file2 and change the name of the file to underscore 2 here. Comma should not be here. There should be a dot. Okay, and after that specify the sizing. We are keeping the sizing as same. Now let's create another file group. So I'm creating a file streaming file group, so let's use the word file stream group 1. So comma is not specified over here, so let's specify the comma. So file stream group 1, we are creating a file stream file group. We need to specify what this file group will contain. So it will contain a file stream. We need to specify that. We will talk about file streams later. We will create a new video for that. We are not covering file streams in this video, but yeah, we are showing you how you can create a file stream type file group or file stream file group that contains the file streams. Let's start and close the bracket and specify the name of the file under that file group. So I'm mentioning the name as mydb of fg file stream to specify the logical name, and I'm specifying the physical file name as though we can create this on some separate other drive, but yeah, let's use the same path. I'm creating the file stream under this location. So we do not mark file streams with the certain extension, but yeah, we can just put the name. So let's put it as file stream 1 will be the name of this file. It will be created under the data folder as well. Now this is done. We have specified about the file group information. Now we need to specify where do we want to create the log files on. So log files are not part of any of the file groups, so we just need to specify the file details. So I'm specifying the logical name of the log file as mydb_log, and I'm specifying the physical file name as let's use the same location and put the file name in here. So log files generally have the LDF extension, so let me put LDF here, and let's specify the sizing specifications. So sizing would be, I'm taking it as 1 MB. I'm taking the max size as 10 MB. I'm taking the file growth setting as 1 MB. So this is done, and yeah, semicolon can be created to complete the batch. So this is a one batch of statements you can write, and after that what we can do, we can I'm writing another set of statements, so which is the alter database statement. Here I'm showing you how you can change the default file group. So I'm altering the my database after creating it. So mydb is my database name, so I'm putting the alter database my database, and under that I'm modifying the file group, and we want to make this second file group, which is mydb fg1, as default file group. So we need to specify its name. It's mydb_fg1, and I need to specify the default keyword to make it default. Yeah, that's the statement, and we can put go. Similarly, after previous batch we can also place the go statement, so that is fine. Now let me execute these statements. So file stream feature is disabled. Let me Okay, so first statement is failed. So file stream feature is not enabled on this database, so for now let me comment out this code and also remove the comma as it is not required here. Now let's try to create it again. So I'm not creating a file stream file group, but I have shown you example how you can create one. Let's execute the statements again. Now file group is created and the new file group is marked as default. Now let's refresh the databases here. I will show you what has happened. So our primary file group has one file, our secondary file group MyDB FG1 has two files. The name of the files are these: FG1 to FG1_1, and this is the default file group, and this is the DB. You can check the information of the database files by going to properties, go to files. Now you see we have four files. The MyDB primary file is created on the primary file group. These two files are created on the MyDB FG1 file group, dat1, dat2. These are the logical names, and these are the physical file names, which is path and file name combined both. And there's a log data file. For log data file, any of the file groups are not applicable. So this is what we have created, just shown you. So yeah, that's it. We have shown you how you can create new user defined file groups, put files on those file groups, and how to make that file group the default file group. So yeah, fine, and let's close this and move back to notes. So we are done with this demo. Now let's talk about the files and file groups fill strategy, how they get filled. If we have files under the particular file group, how they get filled when we create data on those file groups. So file groups basically use the proportional filling strategy, and it spreads the data across all the files within each file group. So it fills the files under that file group proportionally. So for example, if a file group has 3 files, it will spread data across those 3 files within that file group proportionally. So what is that? Basically the proportion. Now let's talk about that. So as data is written to the file group, the SQL Server database engine writes an amount proportional to the free space in the file. So it writes according to whatever free space is available inside each file within that file group. It writes the data proportionally according to that, instead of writing all the data to a first file until full. So it doesn't work like that. It does not fill the first file first, and the second file and the second instance, and the third file in the third instance. So it basically is, whenever we write a data or create an object on the file group, it spreads the data across all the files in that file group proportionally, and that proportion depends upon the free space available in the files. The benefit of using this approach is that file becomes full, all the files become full almost at the same time, and it will not be like that your first file becomes full first and the second file then becomes full at the second instance. Using this approach, there is a benefit that all files will become full at about the same time. So this is the approach or the filling strategy inside the file groups. Now simple striping, this is the another benefit. Simple striping can also be achieved using the files inside the file groups. So how this striping can be achieved? Let's take an example. For example, a file group is made of 3 files and all set to automatically grow. All these 3 files are set to automatically grow. Now when the space in all the file of the file group is exhausted, so all the space in 3 files gets exhausted. Let's say all the space in these 3 files gets exhausted. what will happen? Because the files are set to automatically grow, they will automatically grow. Now how they will automatically grow? So when all the files become full, only the first file is expanded first. When this first file is full, so after expansion, if the file becomes full again, after the expansion of first file, if it becomes full again, then what happens? And if no more data can be written to that file group, the second file gets expanded at that time. And when the second file becomes full and no more data can be written to the file group, a third file gets expanded. If the third file becomes full and no more data can be written to the file group, the first file is expanded again. So in this way, a simple strapping can be achieved, which we can generally achieve by using RAID or any other system. So this is the way we can achieve strapping using the files and file groups. And this has generally discussed about the filling mechanism. So when all the files in the file group becomes full and auto growth is enabled, so when all the space in the file group is exhausted, only the first file is expanded at first instance. And when this first file becomes full and no more data can be written to the file group, the second file gets expanded. And when the second file becomes full and no more data can be written to the file group, then the third file is expanded. And if the third file becomes full, it creates a cycle and no more data can be written to the file group, the first file is expanded again, and so on. Now let's discuss regarding the files and file groups. There are some rules regarding the files and file groups, and the following rules applies to files and file groups. A file or file group cannot be used by more than one database. So what this means is, let's take an example. For example, there are files sales MDF and sales NDF, which are primary and secondary data files, and these files contain data and objects from the sales database, which means it is these files are tied to the sales database. They cannot be used by any other database. So this is the rule. This file cannot be used by any other database if it used by one particular database. A file can be a member of only one file group. So here we are talking about file. File can be only a member of one file group and not multiple file groups. And transaction log files can never be a part of any file group. This is a fact. So keep this in mind. Transaction log files cannot be or can never be part of any file groups. And there are certain recommendations regarding the files and file groups, how to use them, and these are: most databases work well with single data file and a single log file. Now in case you have decided to use multiple data files, what we would suggest is you should create a second file group for any additional file and make that file group the default file group. So this is the recommendation, and we had shown you previously in one of our examples or the demo how you can create an additional file group and make that file group default. And this is generally the recommendation in case you want to use more than one data file. You should create the secondary file groups or second file groups or the user defined file groups for any additional files, and we should make that file group default as well. And in this way, the primary data file will only contain the system tables and system objects. Now in order to maximize the performance, create files or file groups on different available disks as possible. So what we are suggesting is, if you are using any additional file groups, the files within that file group should be created on separate disks to gain the performance benefits or to maximize the performance. Now what we are suggesting is, while creating an object, so while creating tables that are used in same query join, what we would suggest is put those tables on different file groups so that parallel disk IO can be achieved to gain performance benefits whenever we search for join data. So any of the tables that are used in join queries, we should put those tables on different file groups, because this will improve performance because of parallel disk I/O searching for join data. Now we're talking about the heavily accessed tables, so tables that are queried by various users heavily. We should put those tables and any of the non-clustered indexes that belong to the same table, to those tables, on different file groups. So the tables and the clustered indexes on those tables should be put on separate file groups, and this will basically improve the parallel disk I/O. This will improve the performance, which is because of parallel disk I/O, if the files are located on the different physical disks. And we would suggest not to put the transaction log on the same physical disk that has the other files and file groups. So ideally we should put transaction log on a separate drive. It cannot be a part of any file group, so it should be put on any separate drive and not with the data file drive we are using. And in case we want to extend the volume or partition on which the database files reside using the tools like diskpart, if we are increasing or extending the volume using the tools like diskpart, and if we have some database files on that drive, what we should do, we should first back up all those system and the user databases on that drive, and we should also stop the SQL Server services first before extending the drive. And once this volume is extended successfully, we should consider running the dbcc checkdb command to ensure that the physical integrity of all databases residing on the volume, that they are fine or not. So these are some of the recommendations made by us in order to gain performance benefits. So guys, we are done with this video. What we have discussed in this video is we have discussed about the concepts on file groups. We have discussed about the primary file group, user defined file groups, the file stream file groups. We have discussed about them, and we have taken you through a demo where we have shown you how to create secondary file groups, create files on those secondary file groups, and how to make that secondary file group the default file group. So I think you should go through this demo again to get better grasp. And after that, what we had discussed is we discuss about the file group filling strategy, how the files inside file group get filled. And after that, we have discussed on rules regarding the files and file groups, what are the general rule of thumb, and there are some recommendations to gain performance benefits. We have discussed on those. So I hope you like this content, and in case you need the PDF copy of the notes discussed here, please do send me an email after subscribing to my channel. So I need a screenshot like this mentioned below, and subscribe to my channel, click on the bell icon, select the select all to get notification regarding all my future videos. And the screenshot should contain the subscribed indication, which is basically your proof of subscription, along with my channel name and the name of the video. So once I get your email, I will check the name of the video and send you the notes accordingly. Send the email to vrmavane@gmail.com. So guys, I thank you so much for your time on this video, and you have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.